Hello friends, welcome you all to this video series on saluting women in history. Teaching is both a profession and an occupation, but more than that, it is a service. This statement goes well with what the great philosopher Aristotle once stated: those who educate children well are more to be honored than parents, because parents only give life, but teachers teach the art of living well. Yes, a teacher is a person who helps the students to acquire knowledge, competence, or virtue. In the due process of teaching, a teacher presents the past, reveals the present, and creates the future. Teaching is considered to be the hardest task since ancient times, and in the present day scenario, it has become a complicated task as well. A good teacher is one who knows the subject matter, cares about and does their best to understand the students, encourages good behavior and learning through positive comments and actions. They are also supposed to be masters of all technologies and personalizing separate paths for every single one of their students. Our father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, says that a teacher who establishes rapport with the taught becomes one with them, learns more from them than he teaches them. He who learns nothing from his disciples is, in my opinion, worthless. Whenever I talk with someone, I learn from him. I take from him more than I give him. Even our former President of India, APJ Abdul Kalam, always says that he was proud to be called as a teacher rather than anybody else. Therefore, it is important to assert here that the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, but the great teacher inspires. Being a teacher myself, I am extremely happy and proud to highlight in this video on one of the pioneering women personality, Savitribai Phule, who is the first female teacher of India and popularly known as Mother of Modern Girls Education. She is a great teacher who inspired her students and made young women of her times to fight against gender discrimination and establishing their personal rights. Savitribai Phule was not only a teacher but a great woman social reformer associated with the Satyasodak Samaj in Maharashtra. She relentlessly fought against the dominant caste system and worked towards the upliftment of the marginalized. Savitribai Phule demanded dignity for all women, for which she worked her entire life. The principles of humanity, equality, liberty and justice were of utmost importance to her. Savitribai was born on 3rd January 1831 into a family of farmers in the Naigaon district of Maharashtra. At the tender age of 9, she was married to a 12-year-old Jyotirao Phule. She had a great love for learning as a child, and her husband, who was impressed by her thirst for learning, taught her to read and write. Becoming fond of teaching, Savitribai trained at Miss Farrar's institution in Ahmednagar and in Miss Michel's school in Pune to become the first female teacher who inspired young girls of her time to pursue education. We have to remember that at that point of time, when grievances of women could hardly be heard, Savitribai Phule broke all the traditional stereotypes of the 19th century to boost a new age of thinking in British colonized India. Savitribai Phule emphasized the values of women's education and improving women's rights in India during British rule. In 1848, she, along with her husband, started the first women's school at Bidewada in Pune. This school had only 9 girls belonging to different castes. At the time, education for girls was considered a sin, and on her way to school, she was routinely harassed by orthodox men who threw stones, mud, rotten eggs, tomatoes, cow dung, and dirt at her. Because of these untoward incidents, she even carried an extra sari with her always. During her troubled times, her husband stood behind her like a solid rock. Due to the outrage at their work, Savitribai and Jyotiba Phule were thrown out of their house by Jyotiba's father. The couple resolute moved and opened another school for adults in Pune for the Dalit Bahujan community at the house of Usman Sheikh and his sister Fatima Sheikh. They taught at the school with Fatima Sheikh, who became the first Muslim woman teacher of India. In the same year of 1848, she also founded other schools for women. For her, education was not simply alphabetical learning, but rather an evolution of the mind itself. Her innovative methods of teaching, such as telling short stories and reading poems, slowly attracted the common people as the number of girls to the school increased from 24 to 70 during 1849 to 50. By 1851, Savitribai was running 3 schools with around 150 female students. To prevent children from dropping out of school, she offered them stipends and introduced sports sessions which motivated the students to a great extent. She is also said to have inspired a young student to ask for a library for the school at an award ceremony instead of gifts for herself. She inspired young girls to take up painting, writing, and other activities. Parent-teacher meeting was conducted at regular intervals to make the parents aware of the importance of education and to encourage their children. She also took initiatives to reduce malnutrition in children by taking care of the health of each and every child in school. In 1852, Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule were felicitated by the British government for their sustained and dedicated efforts in the field of education. Savitribai was declared as the best teacher. She was the first Dalit woman, in fact the first woman whose poems got noticed in the British Empire. Her first collection of poems was Kavya Phule, which made her to be considered as the mother of modern poetry, stressing the necessity of English and education through her poems. Apart from the contribution towards women's education, Savitribai was one of the first women activists in India who worked to combat gender discrimination in the society. She brought about many social reforms and contributed a lot towards the empowerment of women in Indian society. Savitribai Phule started Mahila Seva Mandal in 1852, which worked for raising women's consciousness about their human rights, dignity of life, and other social issues. She went on to organize a successful barbers' strike in Mumbai and Pune against the prevailing practice of shaving off widows' head. On 28 January 1853, the first ever infanticide prohibition home of India was started by Savitribai Phule. She also opened a care center named Bal Hatya Pratibandhak Griha for pregnant rape victims and helped them to deliver the children. In 1863, the first ever orphanage home was started by Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, which gave protection to pregnant widows. On 28 January 1866, Vishnu Shastri, inspired by Phule's movement, opened an institution to promote widow remarriage, and it was named as Punar Vivah Tojak Mandal. Phule's family themselves adopted the son of Kashibai, a Brahmin widow, in 1874 and again challenged caste boundaries as they often did. He was named Yashwant Rao and went on to become a doctor. Together, they set up 52 boarding schools for the welfare of orphan children, worked in famine relief, set up a night school for workers and peasants, and also opened up their household water tank, Dalits, which was strongly opposed by their own community. On Jyotiba Phule's death on 28 November 1890, Savitribai showed the strength of her character when she lit her husband's pyre, making it one of the rare instances when a wife lit the funeral pyre of her husband in India. Savitribai also took over Satyasodak Samaj after Phule's death and presided over the meeting in 1893 of the Samaj at Saswat in Maharashtra. When the worldwide pandemic bubonic plague struck India in 1897, Savitribai helped the affected people in Pune along with her adopted son, and in the process contracted the dreadful disease and died on 10th March 1897. With all these facts highlighted in this video, we can say that Savitribai Phule was a strong advocate of women's rights and fought for women's education in India. Women's education and their liberation were her priority, which she thought would break the cultural social shackles in a male dominated society at a time when feminism meant nothing in Indian culture. Every woman in India today owes Savitribai Phule for fighting towards women's education in India during the British rule. The University of Pune is renamed after her and it is now known as Savitribai Phule Pune University. Two books of her poems, Kavya Phule in 1934 and Bhavan Kashi Shubodh Ratnakar in 1982, were published posthumously. Her legacy has been memorialized in statues, stamps, books, and films. She was one of the most important personalities in India whose sacrifices and daring clarion call against injustice to women slowly changed the social scenario of the Indian women in the later decades. Women have been educationally empowered in the Indian society during the contemporary times, and for this we all need to remember the struggle, contribution and sacrifice of Savitribai Phule for all of us, and therefore she is a woman to be given a big salute in history. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video with another woman personality.
Please like, share and subscribe to this channel.